So I'm really glad to be on this interview with you, Oscar, and I will introduce to our audience. Oscar is the new teacher in our project, and many of our students really like the classes he gives. So today we will speak about yoga experience and some deepening into our main topics of our Kundalini journal articles. We are really on the topic of Panchakosha, and we will speak with Oscar also about Panchakosha and Kundalini Yoga, how they related, and how we can deal with this concept of Panchakosha. So, Oscar, first of all, few words about yourself, maybe the age, the everything. What you want to speak about you as a person, not as a teacher. So,
yeah, great. Thank you, Danny. Same from this side to you. I'm very honored to be part of your teachers now, that your project, and I was very glad to be practicing with you, your group and your people for this 3 times already, 3 times already. Fantastic practices and so on. I think also we share students in common, coming from having some backgrounds like Amrit Nam Sarovar school behind. I practiced through the school for many years, and I think so we share some common ground from that. So some of the practices as I offer are very similar, and your people were very engaged and so on. As we were saying before, sometimes if you could hold a karta skriya, then you could go through many different things, and this is also my perspective. So I teach some kind of challenging Kundalini yoga sometimes, which is makes sense. We're gonna speak about this after this. So you asked me about myself. For me, just giving the cosmic talk a little bit on the side. To speak about person is kind of difficult, because even my story is getting I can't even remember very well, but I could say that I have been a yoga teacher. I am practicing the role of a yoga teacher more or less 18 years, 17 years teaching Kundalini yoga, but of course the practices of yoga become years before with the different experiences. So for me, being a 50 years old person, 52, began in the middle of my 30s, my practice of yoga. I also, and this is also for maybe some of the audience today, don't discourage you to start. I thought myself that I was starting too late, because I was already 34. I was becoming father that year, and so on, or between 34 and 35. So I was just like, oh my god, this is too late. When I was seeing my co-students in some of the yoga classes, I was taking part of it in South America, where I lived that time, in 2004, between 1 and 4. So in those years I became a regular Kundalini yoga practitioner. I was practicing yoga before, and I practiced different from Shaolin to Kung Fu. So I practiced martial arts for many years. Also, I believe that brings into my yoga practice some of the knowledge of that. So we call it prana. In Kung Fu, we call it chi. The nadis, they have meridians in their art. So we have a very similar approach to the energetic world. So for me, that helped me to go through the first approaches to Kundalini yoga, which were strange, like radiant bodies on this or that, or the prana fließend and so on. It was kind of for me familiar, although the names were different, but for me it was familiar. I felt in my place when I began practicing Kundalini yoga. And since the first moment, as many of you, I believe, many of your practitioners, you came into the first yoga class, and maybe I'm gonna give it a try, second time, 3 times, 4 times, and then you cross the bridge, you can't go back in Kundalini yoga. So since this moment, I became a regular practitioner, and also immediately self-learning. Since the place where I was learning Kundalini yoga in Bolivia, there's no teacher trainings in the 2002. No, that didn't exist as now today, that you have weekends and so on and so on. So we needed to pass through a different selection of a program process, And I moved to countries from where you didn't have Kundalini Yoga, no Kundalini Yoga teacher. So where I started, I had a teacher, one teacher in one country. And I moved to Uganda. And being in Uganda, the teachings were like self-learning. So I became a self-learner teacher from the beginning until I had the chance to visit Española, New Mexico, to continue my and this time the real former training for a level 1 Kundalini Yoga teacher, already as I said 17 years ago, in New Mexico, Española, with a fantastic pool of teachers. Of course, some of them are well known now, some of them are not working anymore. Kundalini Research Institute or 3HO is independent. I found them many great teachings from them. Guru Charan Singh, let's say Guru Charan Singh, Nirver Singh were the teacher trainers in this moment. So I've got a lot of knowledge that I had it already in my books, but in the practice not. I have been teaching since this moment. Also being a family, a father, and being in my fields of social work. Therefore, I was working in Bolivia, working in Uganda and Africa. I found that the applying of more than Kundalini Yoga, more the philosophy behind yoga, and this is independently from which school or which type of yoga you practice, Kundalini Yoga or not Kundalini Yoga, gave me some parallel to the social development world that also made sense. So conscious development begins from me, myself, and from there to others. So when you're working in third world countries and trying to implement or help with development projects and programs and so on, it's also good to look inside. So we have good intentions to work and help others outside, but the reset and review my inside world is also important to see how can I apply my techniques and my qualities in my field, let's say. So from this moment, I lost any interest in working in something different than teaching yoga. So of course, if you are so thirsty of knowledge and want to practice, I just jump into every opportunity I had to participate in workshops and trainings, and being in Española, New Mexico, or getting to the European Yoga Festival, and so getting to know more teachers. And therefore, through that, I met my second, let's say, stage of learning in a systematic way. In a systematic way was level 2 in Kundalini Yoga. Some people call it 300 hours for other teacher trainings, but for us in Kundalini Yoga was that time level 2. I've met Karta Singh that today not anymore Singh. I don't want to use the name Singh or Kaur behind, because I'm very delicate with this. So Karta was teaching, and I jumped into his teacher training level 2. With him, I stayed for more than the 2 years of level 2. I stayed for a mentoring program for more than 3 years, probably 4 maybe, in his participating in his teacher outreach program in Le Martinet in France, in the ashram. After that, the story just splits away. Each student has to also grow and develop its own skills and its own, not only skills, but its own qualities and so on. So of course, I just got my space, move out back to Zimbabwe in Africa again, and working between Zimbabwe, Germany, France. I just started to ground my own yoga school in Frankfurt. It's not my own yoga school. We guide people in this Kundalini Yoga Centrum, which is a non-profit centrum with Siri Gopal Kaur as a very good friend of mine here. And we just run a place to give opportunity to new teachers to teach Kundalini Yoga coming from any of the schools. For us, it's not important which teacher training you had, but it's more important how honest and how engaged you are to teach Kundalini Yoga to others. So we offer this platform as a yoga center to teach from there. But unfortunately, of course, Dennis, in this time, since the year ago, we haven't been able to open again the place. So we are trying to move to online platform, as you are doing a very well doing. As we try to do the same with the team of teachers we we have in the yoga center. So in this travel, you have, in my travel, this let's say 18, 20 years, I had approached the perspective of learning yoga from a format of a teacher training, like with books and so on. But also I found on the way that is that this self-experience is very well needed in the teacher trainings also. Therefore, probably I got lots of insights and a lot of learning through Le Martinet in the ashram, being in the outreach or being learning or teaching, because it's very much an experience-based space, and experience-based is necessary to understand yoga, in my idea. So from there, life develops all around. So it's very much. So I'm a father, a 16 years old daughter, and so she grew up with the Kundalini Yoga as parallel to my life in the Kundalini Yoga. She is also a yoga teacher from my teacher training, and fantastic relationship. And I see also from a young age that we need to give our kids the freedom to choice and to choose, but also give them the chance to participate or practice, or just take a look when you're doing your meditations, or maybe give the chance to your child to approach it or not pushing. It didn't work and never worked. But very happy to have that in my life, the practice.
Yeah, that's great. So, and now you are making teacher trainings with your own school, or it's related with Amritnam or others? How it goes with you?
Dennis. After my training with Amritnam, I came back to Frankfurt with some of the needs of me to offer a Kundalini Yoga training, which were not attached or based to on a specific place, was mandatory. And being in Frankfurt, Zimbabwe, it was very difficult to be part of a school, and from a very personal decision and a very intimate and personal approach, I couldn't, and I wouldn't want to work with Kundalini Research Institute or doing any of the processes that they need to be made to work with them in the format of teacher training. So it took me many years sending many of my students to participate in teacher trainings of different teacher trainings here, but also same students that became yoga teachers level 1 coming from a variety teacher trainings in Frankfurt, in Germany, or even with Carta, they came back to my place or to my classes telling me still I'm missing something that I can't reach it only in your space, in your classes and your workshops and so on. Could be only a very personal relationship. It's nothing about that those teacher trainings are very bad or no. It's just probably because my approach to the Kundalini Yoga through the years and through different experiences, I found that I needed to clear up many things that were placed behind in the practice of Kundalini Yoga, which were attached to organizations and to names and cults and so on. So for me, it was very, very important to have students that want to participate in a Kundalini teacher training that doesn't have any stamp of any organization like KRI or INS or Yoga Alliance and so on. For the moment, I'm working in a very, very independent way, so giving the teacher training as I understand it. And with a pool of teachers, all of them, they have their own training. So we are kind of a collective of independent teacher trainings in this area of Frankfurt, Hessen, Berlin, and so on. So we gather a couple of, I participate teaching philosophy and meditation in some of them, and they come to me, participate and teach asanas and so on and so on. And we have also a couple of teachers based in Rishikesh in India, where I used to go every year, participate there. And they teaches us another module of that. So the format of INS, that having an intense week for the summer week that all of the teacher trainings come there. I have a similar format, let's say, that we spend time here, and the intensive week is in India, in Rishikesh, in an ashram that we have access, Padma Niketam, and where we practice pranayama, mudra, bandha, and so on. So just I try to even clarify that I teach Kundalini Yoga based on my learning process on that, but based, of course, on many of the teachings of Yogi Vajan, but not only. I have also another sources, and we base our learnings on the Kundalini Yoga Upanishads too, to give different approaches and the possibility for the people to it's one of the mottos of the teacher training is that find the qualities the teacher in you. So that means you need to have the freedom of choice. You need to have the freedom of trying and probably saying it doesn't work for me. So therefore formats as Kundalini Research Institute also doesn't work for me because they have a very tight boxes that you have to fill in your practice as a student. And that is exactly the opposite that I offer. The idea is to you experience, and then after that see how can you fit in as a teacher, which is not necessarily in a yoga mat. It's more for your own life. And if you want to teach Kriya, Waheguru, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the best way for me also, because I think that if you are ready to start your own way and you have your own experience, it's better to go your way than copy these programs, because the main teaching is to be yourself, to be a true essence, and just go with this experience and share it. So this is great. I really appreciate what you are doing. And do you have online formats with this?
It is starting this year, exactly. This the format. We have been with the team working since last year, end of last year, because our last year teacher training should have begun on between September or November, so the last year, and it got us with the lockdowns and so on out of base, and we were more busy teaching yoga classes online than to produce the online base for the teacher training. It wasn't possible, so still now we're working on it, but it's going to happen the same. Only we just moved 1 year. We just postponed it to begin around September, October this year. Hopefully before, but it's all due to the expecting what could happen. If we could have a halfway online and halfway present would be nice. So I'm trying to play with these things. Yeah, but I'm working on the teacher training online. Of course, there's some topics that we can cover definitely, and I already cover in the fields of philosophy and history of that and all that, which is more theoretical. No, so we practice Kundalini. I try to practice it. That one of the things behind the teacher training is as mandatory, and for me is definitely necessary that we integrate through the practice what we can or need to learn intellectually. Of course, we need to learn intellectually some of the concepts of the yoga, very simply. So if your physical body works with your anatomy, your anatomical body, this as we see it, has 7 to 11 different systems. So we need to see it, and you can have it in a book, but how can we relate and let this knowledge sink down in another dimension, which is not only intellectual or a brain process of gathering information, selecting the information, and information will be storage in some place. How can we transcend this only intellectual learning into an experiential learning? And therefore the direct practice is necessary through Kriya, Bandhas, and so on and so on. So we speak of the tissues of your body or any of that. So the respiratory system, let's do yoga and experience the respiratory system as a system which is intrinsic, unified in yourself. You see, so therefore the online is being kind of tricky, but it's doable. As you have seen, Dennis, you do it, guys, and I do it. So now we see, we can speak of respiratory system, for instance, as an example, and then give the experience through a yoga set or just the practice of asana or anything. So I'm trying to balance that into a teacher training and bring it more accurate and clear for the people. We've tried last year We finished last year the level 2 of a friend who teaches Hatha Vinyasa Yoga. I'm participating as the philosophy part of the meditation. And we got some issues that now it's been solved. So we needed to present the difficulties to solve the difficulties, because some people were kind of confused of those concepts of koshas and minds, and all that was kind of confusing and was very difficult to grasp it from online format and so on. But then we practiced one day, full day yoga, and the intellectual part sank down to the place it needed to be. So now we are trying to fit that into the study units necessary for each block of the teacher training, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and so let's speak about these koshas and how do you see these koshas are integrated in the teachings of Yogi Bhajan, which named Kundalini Yoga. And first of all, how do you feel this name of the practice Kundalini Yoga? Because some people say that Kundalini Yoga it's like sexual energy. Some others is about something really spiritual thing, that you must wear these turbans and all this stuff. You must be sick kind of person. And how do you feel Kundalini Yoga, and how we can integrate with this kind of deep understanding of koshas and others things that are really the core of practice?
Yeah. Great question. I had this question I needed to ask me, and still I ask me, how can I present that what I teach in a way that doesn't fall in a place being a name that someone gave it to it, so for this 17 years practicing and teaching and learning from so much different sources and fantastic yoga teachers and so on, I found always myself in the question, being in the yoga mat, and it can happen to many yoga teachers. I know that since our talks to very experienced teachers or beginners, that we still have this shadow. No, don't say shadow. Let's say this background, this cover of the Kundalini Yoga that we learn in Western. You understand? So the Western Kundalini Yoga was what Yogi Bhajan named it, and Yogi Bhajan said this is Kundalini Yoga, and we began practicing this type of Kundalini Yoga Kriya and so on and so on. But we can refer to Kundalini Yoga as Yoga Kundalini, not Kundalini Yoga. Actually, the word is opposite. Is yoga as first, and then you practice Kundalini. So the source of the idea of awakening Kundalini is not a secret behind any of the yoga practices. So the awakening through the flows, through the series in Ashtanga, is the awakening of Kundalini as an experience of complete awareness. Let's say it from this perspective. So if awareness came down and stays on the lower back and Muladhara and so on, the awakening of the Kundalini leaves the layers of the less subtle to the most subtle. Let's say, so to be very short in words, it could be really explicit and really, but it's going to be long. So just to say that this has been pretty much the same approach or the same intention that many of the yoga or yoga practitioners have. So if you read Patanjali, it's pretty close to that. So from pratyahara to samadhi, actually that is, and the samadhi is this experience of the awakening Kundalini, and I am one with the universe, I'm definite and infinite, and so on and so on. So many of those words that were used as yoga, as Kundalini Yoga, so came to Western by Yogi Bhajan and many of the follower teachers, were said before, right? So I was trying to go out of the trap that I am teaching something that I cannot teach anymore. If you follow me, I'm not against anything or anyone and so on. So definitely not. But I'm also not for that, because I found myself that the idea of faking until I make it is definitely not my idea. I cannot fake it anymore. Since 10 years, I can't fake it anymore. I can't keep quoting quotes which I do not agree with, and which I find them empty or very senseless or very less sensitive about that. I had it's a very great blessing to be introduced to Advaita Vedanta through meeting with different teachers and testimonials of what is the Advaita Vedanta non-duality practices, which is the Jnana Yoga, the sitting yoga, the Jnana, the no practice, no Kriya, no movement, and so on. And through that, I was kind of confused. How can I deal with this Jnana Yoga, this Advaita Vedanta, which is beautiful knowledge, which is in every yoga practice, but how can I bring this to my Kriya? How can I bring to the world of the exercises and yoga sets that I really loved? Behind the Kriyas, there's many things happening which are not exclusive to the Kundalini Yoga Research Institute or the Kundalini Yoga created by Yogi Bhajan and so on. So we need being very delicate and careful with that, to not going into against anything. I began finding my way to getting disentangled, because I was really entangled on all those concepts, and letting the things that they're not faking anymore, letting those things pass, and just pass, and staying with the things that were really feeding me or really nurturing me spiritually. And I must say it, and with the forgiveness of anyone who probably is in the stage of only Yogi Bhajan and so on, I let more than 70% of the teachings that I learned in my former teacher trainings and so on, these were absolutely not valuable for my teachings anymore. So I just needed to make not a decision. Life brought me to the place. I never took a decision, just life, just trusting life, and life showed me another way to where I didn't feel any guilt, not guilty using a non-dogmatic format of teaching yoga, which again I like to say it very clear. If people ask me, I used turban before, I have a spiritual name called Dharaminder Singh, which I'd never used it before. I'm not a Sikh, and I don't use the Sikhism as a religion for me and so on. So I began to, as you said, to get to separate all those dogmatic places where some people say, yeah, Kundalini Yoga is sexual. It is not. Kundalini Yoga is Sikhism. It is absolutely not, and is quite far away from that. If we talk to the people in Amritsar, with the ministers, the people really on top of the Sikhism, they are not so happy with our Satnam Vaheguru practice in here, because we are breaking many rules. We are really appropriating some cultural and religious appropriation, which is not fair. So from that, I said, for me, was the practice of yoga was more important than Kundalini Yoga. And I found that changing the perspective of that I do practice yoga Kundalini, giving yoga the first place, and Kundalini as the source, the behind practice, right? So awakening the Kundalini could be awakened by pranayama, bandha, mudra, chanting mantras and chanting any mantra. Hare Krishna is one of the most beautiful mantras to awakening this Kundalini self-experience. So there's no touch, there's no only one way. And I found that what I do is practice yoga, but I learn a lot of the kriyas, and thanks to Karta, Amrit Nam, Kundalini, all that, I have a lot of background of this Kundalini Yoga. So I needed to continue teaching Kundalini Yoga until someday we can understand that what we practice is yoga Kundalini in my format, the format I teach. Nothing that I'm not wearing white because I'm against. No, sometimes yes, sometimes not. I like to explain that when we go to the koshas, why it's so important to understand that it's not against, but it's on favor one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really resonating with my attitude to this practice. It's really great, and it gives me really deep experience. But I'm not the person who says that must be this way or this way. I really have also deep experience in some other understandings, and sometimes it's not resonated what Yogi Bhajan says. It's just his opinion and his understanding of the life. And also I have even two names. For me, it was first name, it was by email.
Yeah.
you know, this you sign up for email and they give you this spiritual name. Then I was in Karta's ashram and he gives me the name. It was really great initiation. It was really deepening into my true essence, but still I am Dennis. I feel this is my identity. I'm absolutely okay with that, and I can teach with this name. And I don't need the turban, never get it into this. And this is really great that you are thinking the way I understand, and you feel this practice, and this is really resonated with me. And so the last thing about this Kundalini yoga, what would you suggest for those who just start this practice? Because I know that in my experience, it was needed to be deeply understand how it goes, how it was taught by Yogi Bhajan, and then I get to this experience also with Kundalini and with different Kartas trainings. It was really deep expansion of consciousness and understanding of myself, and this all creation. And anyway, I stay the same person, and anyway, the true essence, it was likely the same before. It's just about how I can feel, how I can test this life, and how do you feel about people who just came to the practice and get into these first experiences?
Yeah. Fantastic. Another super good question. I have been from a couple of years already here. I have been kind of let's say struggling not in a bad way, but not in so personal way. The struggle is how can I present? Is your question the same question I have done it to myself here in front of my mirror? How can I transmit something which for me is wider, but I jump into the practice of this yoga and very committed through the Kundalini yoga as the Western Kundalini yoga we know, that developed in the USA and was filtered and whatever, and came to Europe and now is almost all around. I like to make a short parenthesis here. If you are practicing, and I believe many of the people who see in this, or you also yourself, Dennis, probably you have been in the different yoga cities in India, one of the sources of yoga. And Rishikesh, since it's one of my home base where I do the teacher trainings, I participate, I take a part of the yoga festivals and teaching and taking part. If you go there, you have to be very explicit about the yoga where you're practicing. You have in the schools, they have to say Kundalini yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. That's the exception. You see, so first we can review a little bit the story. That's the exception. Everything else is Kundalini yoga. I'm not saying they're real. I'm saying just everything else as I knew it before is yoga Kundalini. And if you want to teach that one, you need to say and be explicit Kundalini yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. And there's a label, and there's 3 schools, and this or last year there were still 3 schools teaching there, and there's many. It's a lot more broader since every yoga festival there's Kundalini yoga with turban and so on, practicing there. So it's quite difficult for the newcomers into a practice of yoga Kundalini that doesn't face this new neo yoga Kundalini by Yogi Bhajan, so the one everyone began. So it seems like it's the way into it, and we need to fall deep into the learning of this Kundalini yoga, but for ourselves to be reflective at the end and take what is really plausible and really important and really enriching for us from this practice. We need to go into it, you see. So let's say it like that. There's many information in the yoga practice which is not necessary, and the only thing that creates is separation. So try to not follow, and if anyone is new in this, try to not follow. Please stay attached with 4 practices, 4 things really important. I can show you the Yoga Kundalini Upanishads, where they said the question is, Master, how can I find a liberation or a Kundalini rising in order to understand liberation or samadhi or moksha? So they said there's 2 ways. One way would be through the fulfillment of all your desires, deep-rooted desires, your vasanas. So fulfilling vasanas is going to take many lives long. It's the master's teachings. And I'm saying this is not a book written by Yogi, not even written, it's more beyond 1,500 years ago. So we can't even relate this type of teachings with Sikhism, gurus, and nothing. It's really, really an independent thing as the perspective of Advaita Vedanta, Upanishads teaching the conclusion of Vedanta. So in this say, they said, fulfill all your vasanas, your deep-rooted desires, which can be many lives work, or master 4 things. Master your prana through pranayama, master mudra and bandha, because the practice of mudra and bandha makes you understand your physical body. Master asana in order to align geometrically your physical body, your bandhas, and your pranic bodies. And if you master these 4, you're done. It seems easy. It's very simple, very easy, but it needs a lot of our commitment. And if you keep following and reading and taking care of these scriptures, it's not an easy task only practicing bandhas and closing the neck. About locking yourself down needs to be with many, many things more, like my perspective of life, what I am locking down as a bandha, what is the mudra, is the seal, what is pranayama. Pranayama very much explained as the restraint of prana, the breathing restraint is prana, and the other root word, and many other scholars, they speak of ayama, which is expansion, not niyama, ayama. So the expansion of prana, prana means life's force in me. So if we stay attached to that, we see that many yoga kriyas, Kundalini Yoga, Yogi Vayan or not Yogi Vayan's kriyas, the practice of bandha, asana, mudra, and pranayama are very constant in there. So if we stay with this sober practice, everything else that is being attached to it probably doesn't have so much importance. So try to stay sober if you're jumping for first time into this. Get the benefits of the practice of kriya. And by the way, also the word kriya has also different meanings. Action, but some others use it as the word used for a cleansing, a detoxification, and so on. So when we speak as a Kundalini Yoga practitioner, we say, which kriya do you use, and so on. In India, my co-teachers, they look at me like, what do you mean? I mean, which cleansing process? Neti? What are you talking about when you speak about kriya to me? You see, so we got the appropriation of words like kriya, sadhana, and so on, that belief is the only one, and it's a tiny part in the world of yoga. And so, first of all, keeping a very relaxed attitude in front of your yoga. Second, experiencing all the benefits of the Kundalini Yoga kriyas and pranayamas and so on, getting the benefits, but not letting those benefits make you arrogant, because the Kundalini Yoga practice has very strong insights and moments that you feel like, wow, that probably for practicing Ashtanga series, you need many years of the same series in order to have the same experience, maybe some Kundalini not, but there is no difference. Our goal and our instruments are very close to the same. Asana, bandha, pranayama, mudra. It's very, very, very simple. So everything else is, in my opinion, a beautiful, beautiful decoration, but still is only decoration. You see, turban or a 9 is just very simply a concept thing. We go there also, for me, it's super, super important about the way we practice it, the way we present to the yoga. It is absolutely unimportant for me. You understand? Why is it very absolutely unimportant for me? Because if we stay still in this line, starting line, that I am good if I do sadhana, I have prosperity if I do hara kriya, or I am gonna have a more better image to my students if I wear my turban and saris and all these Indian clothes that I am not, if I wear my name that I'm in the, and so on and so on. All those are the beautiful decoration I'm saying, but none of them are changing you. No change. You understand? The yoga, in my opinion and my experience, and it's been working for me, for many others, it helps me to take the layers and to understand my koshas, take the layers, connect with the tattvas, understand the gunas, all this beautiful story behind. It's not exclusive to Kundalini Yoga, first of all. If you see gunas, it's not a concept of Kundalini Yoga, Yogi Vaya. And gunas is one of the oldest concepts that how the universe was created. So it's not Yogi Vaya, you see. So the Guru Nanak is a beautiful guru, same as Krishna. You see, so there's no yoga in there. You see, we use beautiful mantras of the Guru Granth Sahib, but some of them are not from the Guru Granth Sahib, were invented and copy-paste from the different sources in there. So be aware of that. You see, all of those are beautiful practices, but they are not necessary because they are not changing the essence of the self. If the quest of the yoga is the enlightenment pure, as Patanjali proposed and many others proposed, so samadhi is the recognition that I am not separate with the infinite self. I am that. Ek Onkar Satguru Prasad is pretty much the same. Creation and creator are one. If I am the creation, the creator and me are one. If this is truth, am I different if I do it in black clothes? Am I different? Am I not more anymore Ek Onkar, or let's say not anymore the same universe that created me and I am part of the universe if I do 60 degrees or 30 degrees or 45 degrees or so? You see? That is going to disturb your shoulders, but it's not necessarily going to change the experience, if you understand. So that those beautiful decorations are only decorations for the true self, which is pure, permanent, and unchangeable. So there's nothing to be done for that. And saying that, sometimes I also, me myself, for my teacher trainings, when I give this talk, some people explicitly ask me, so that means I don't need yoga? And I need to be honest, no, you don't need yoga. You understand? Yoga is a tool there to refine everything of your experiences, but not going to change anything. So if you are really in quest for enlightenment and so on, you just need to sit down and stay quiet. That's all. Do nothing. Be no a thing. That is the real. But if we want to improve our physical bodies, understand the koshas, get some knowledge, speak to people and learn some yoga. You see, so therefore for me, all that it is irrelevant if we just really commit to this the practice of recognition of the self, where sometimes just closing your eyes is necessary to do that. Only that the thing is that we are so busy that our social skill, our self, the building of this personality, this person, is being taken generations and generations. It's very, very difficult to get rid of that. So the layers of in front of my eyes doesn't let me see that real is, needs some effort. And one of the best tools for that is the practice of pranayama, mudra, bandha, kriya, asana. You see, so therefore Kundalini Yoga is a fantastic tool to center yourself and not be more distracted with anything which is offered on the world. The paradox, and unfortunately if you're new, please be aware of this, the paradox is that is the idea behind, to get less pratyahar, withdraw from your senses, right? Focus and concentrate in what is the inner cosmic center, let's say this universe inside, and transcend to dhyana, which is concentration, not meditation. And then you go to meditation and samadhi. If this is the goal, everything else is not necessary. You see, so being in this withdrawal of that is a paradox, it's a contradiction if you try to withdraw doing a kriya or something which has a goal. You see, who has a goal? Who has a place to go? If a place to go or goal, a place, something to achieve, to get into it, if this is, then we needed to be very fast. So yoga needed to be really fast. And then everything needed to be really fast, because if this is the goal, then samadhi needs to be right now. Samadhi express. You understand? That would be then that should be the practice. If this is the goal. But behind that, why do I need prosperity, who is the prosperous person? If the idea is person is here, personality, but presence is the one who is observing all the movements of my koshas. So who is this one who needs this or that or that or that? You see, those approaches were very 70s, 60s, 70s, when the society were looking for to accumulate. Expansion is not accumulation. To have more money, prosperity, health, youth, this or that is only accumulation. And what is that? Vasanas. What is the Yoga Upanishad saying? Get rid of vasanas. So we are in opposite. We are getting more and more and more, accumulating more spirituality, more books, more concepts, more bodies, more clothes, more turbans. You see, more prosperity, more kriyas for this and that, kriya for everything, instead of letting life happening and me just participating, taking part of life. As you see, so if you practice Kundalini Yoga for first time, forget about the names. The kriyas are fantastic. They work pretty well. Forget about the goals and practice the honest yoga in your yoga mat. Get the benefits. Go for it. And when you're ready to jump into trainings and so on, give a research about around the world what else is the idea of yoga, behind yoga. That would be one of the answers I have given lately. Also, if you get literature, it's very difficult now. If you go to Google, you need to pass 7-8 pages until you find something which is not Kundalini Research Institute, Yogi Vayan and so on, which is about yoga Kundalini. You see, so be also selective with this, because everything we consume is really quick. Everything we go to Google or any of the searchers in any of your countries, it is very, very quick algorithm selection. So algorithm selection is the people is using it more, you're gonna get more and more and more. So it's very, be aware that it's not only what you see that Yogi Van said this on that, because you also can find some dirt around, and could be also true that there are so many complaints that kind of damage the image of many of our gurus, not only in the realm of Kundalini Yoga, but many other practices. So if you follow a person, you will be disappointed, a person. But if you follow truth, this essence, you will find it only in here, in this place. So you can be, please, very careful, very selective in that, but practice the yoga. Not practicing lets you in a corner where you are losing, you're missing the game, and this game is very fun. It's really fun. Practicing this yoga is very, very funny. It's really, really funny.
Yeah. What about these koshas? I think for me, for example, these 5 koshas, they have their own goals. Our body needs all these movements in Kundalini Yoga. Our pranic body needs this flow of the energy. Our mind needs to be cleansed, these vasanas also, and all other processes that disturbs our mind. And to get into the deep meditation, it's really needed to combine all these states of these different koshas. And how do you see this integration? Because for me, it's always about Kundalini Yoga to get into my touch of my body, then my energy, my mind, my subconscious, and my soul. For me, this is the connection. And when it's connected, it gets into this state of meditation. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it's not. Just something couldn't get me into this state, and I understood for me it was just like, it's okay if I don't get from this practice to the highest states, it's also okay for me. How it's for you, this integration of koshas, and how it works for you? Because sometimes before it was disappointed why sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. But then when you investigate this, it gives something.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's and again one of these key points in my practice, and how I as I said it before, I didn't take a decision, never like I'm going to take this side, I'm not practicing. But one of these key points, key places was about the koshas in my life. Through the, I can't say the practice of Advaita Vedanta, you don't practice Advaita Vedanta, but you learn, you participate of the satsangs with the different sages and so around. But I was very curious, but because all the time and mainly behind the teachings of Sri Ramana Maharaj or Papaji, Punjaji, Sri Punjaji, there's always a concept of mind is there, and the physical body is there, but there's someone witness and observer. Oh, pranic body is there, and so on. So I was kind of confused some years ago, because I was I dived deep into these 10 bodies that are processed by the, let's say, the Yogi Vayan's perspective of how is composed the body, and I was finding like very confusing for me. How can I get out of this? I honestly guys, and with you Dennis, honestly, I never found this radiant body and subtle body and so on. You know, I had the feeling that I was inventing it, you know, creating it in my imagination. I need to find my aura, my radiant body needs to be there. So I did all the kriyas for radiant body. That's one beginning in here. I know many kriyas from head. I can teach you right now 10 kriyas, no stop, with no books. I don't need them, yeah? Because I practice so much and learn it. Never felt it. You know, honestly, I never had the benefits of being in this or that, or because honestly not. So for when they are the approaches of, they said, yeah, the first time that the koshas came into life were through the Upanishads. I was very curious. Upanishad was my first book in yoga 22 years ago. I had it. I went straight there, like, let me learn from that. And it took me a couple of years to dive into those teachings. And they were very simple, very beautiful, very simple. They said, through again another tale of student guru chela relationship, right? So the guru and the student speaking, and they always behind the question, the quest of that, the holy grail behind is, how can I attain eternal happiness or everlasting happiness? Which everlasting happiness, for some people already practicing this, is nothing about achievement of material stuff, but still is there. Nirvana is there somewhere. Nirvana is there. So the perspective of, let's see who needs or who is looking for that nirvana. Something that I had never had before in a Kundalini Yoga practice, because I had always the kriyas in order to find that. You understand? So it was always something to be done in order to get something. And in this other side of the perspective is, don't do anything and let's first find the one thirsty of nirvana. Yeah? So then we began with the idea of the koshas, and I kind of grasped it. I'm not saying that I understood, and I'm not saying that I'm the master in that. I'm just understood one thing, that all of those layers that create this person that is here now talking to you and interacting with the world, the maya, the samsara, and so on, has to have a shape, has to have a physical body. One of the concepts that we are not separated from the environment, that we are one. We hear that in every place, in every Instagram. We are one. One of those. How does it work? How does it work? Very simply, tell me, how does it work? Upanishad 2,000 years ago, someone said, like, you eat, you drink, you breathe, you grow. Your body grows. What else do you need to know? It's very simple, guys. It's super simple. I drink my mother nature. I am fed by the nature. Being in an animal shape, it's not speaking of vegetarian, it's not. I am being fed by the natura, by prakriti. I'm eating it. Therefore, I cannot be different. I'm breathing the air produced by this green plants, and they are getting in exchange my CO2, and we have been doing this for all the generations of the human beings. How can I be separated if my prana is the same? How can I be different from this one? So what's one of the first glimpses of, now I try to at least feel the idea of I am one with the nature. So because many times it was said like, the tattvas, you have the tattvas, the 5 elements in you and so on. But how? Like I want to understand the tattvas and the gunas. I want intellectual understanding was not needed. You just really the experience that how else if I am eating the fire of the ginger, I am heating my water, which is fire, is hot. I'm cooking my food there. I'm drinking the water, which is the same water, the cooling down element. All the tattvas are in my body. How else cannot be? So I found very interesting that the idea of the pancha koshas, the 5 koshas, were more fitted for my yoga practice than the confusion of 10 bodies or 7 bodies and so on for me and a very simple, humble yoga teacher and student. For me, it is a very understandable. And then I began experiencing and teaching and learning more about that through this perspective on non-duality. The idea behind it is if one wants to have nirvana, we need to see who is that one. In order to see that one, we need to understand the person who is presented here. This person has a physical body. What does this physical body need? It is needed prana. We need food. And the practice of yoga is nurturing my physical body. Gurus, keep practicing the yoga. How else can I explain that the yoga and Annamaya kosha are very well integrated? The same with my mind, because the idea, if I am searching for nirvana, that nirvana is something permanent somewhere, and the impermanence is looking the permanent. That means permanent exists, and everything else is impermanent. So if the permanent exists, which is enlightenment, great consciousness, guru, or any god, or any of the names you want to give, is permanent. If not, I wouldn't be looking for it. You understand? I'm looking for the permanent because it's there. If it's impermanent, I can't find it because now it's like this, and now it's like that, and now it's like that. So if the permanent is there, and I am looking for it, so who is me looking for the permanent? My physical body, my mind is impermanent, so it's not anymore. So in my mind, I won't find the answer. In my physical body, not, but they are together. In my prana, I breathe in, I breathe out. It's pretty impermanent. It's constantly changing, integrated, but it's not also. And again, if you go, it's called, I need to look the name, Vijnanamaya kosha, the psychic, the higher mental body, where the experiences and the memories is collected, right? If we go there, memories and the experience, the psychic experiences, they are also impermanent. As we used to know, all of us, past is past and doesn't exist anymore. So it's not anymore there. That means it's not the permanent nirvana. And it's the same with the Ananda Maya Kosha, because Ananda is the bliss complete. It's a blissful kosha. It's a bliss experience. But the experiencer is not there yet. So if the experiencer is seeing all these koshas, participating and taking all the koshas to use for my benefit, my dharmic benefit, then who am I? You see? So my quest ends. So therefore, I try to stop the practice of yoga in order to find that one, which is somewhere. Kriyas for subconscious mind, kriyas for this and awakening and so on. No, the kriyas that integrate all my koshas. What you said, when my mind, my body, my soul, all these elements are together in one, I find again the balance which never left. So nothing found it. It's just, it was there. I just forgot it because I was busy. How? Because I had an Annamaya kosha which was sick. Probably I needed to heal my body. You see, so avoid confusions, because some people would say, then I do nothing. If you do nothing, your body is going to be sick, that you cannot concentrate in any spiritual practice because you need to heal this physical body. Meditating with pain is very difficult, guys. Honestly, it's very difficult. It's not recommended by any of the ancient practices. If you are sick, heal yourself, practice meditation after that. You see, so it's very, very difficult to get a shallow mind and someone tells you, okay, sit down and meditate. No, the shallow minds needs to be calm. The kriyas are very good instruments for calm the mind, for bring this mind which is shallow to a more related place, and so on and so on. The prana is there. Prana is flowing all the time through your body, my body, the plants, everything, everywhere. Everywhere is prana. It has a regular flow, but if it's obstructed by regrets, by anything that is obstructing my prana, my chi, remember I practice Kung Fu and so on, we used to say there's some meridians and some points, the same nadis, that we can apply some pressure in order to alter and change that not flowing chi. It's the same with the prana, and the same we do with asana, prana, and so on and so on. So you see that yoga is very well integrated to understand, to use the bodies, to use them, but not finding anything, just balancing, and then you are in the same place you were before, but with more open eyes, somehow like that. So if you don't do the yoga, you miss the part of the healing benefits of the yoga, or being mental, physical, or emotional too, because all the emotions that we gather in our psychic body, in a high mental body, the Vijnana Maya Kosha, is very difficult also to get clear of all past traumas and this constant heaviness that we get to us constantly. We probably don't see it, but constantly, I mean, in the last 20 years, I have experienced at least, I don't know, maybe 10 very traumatic experiences, very traumatic, and traumatic not in the sense of a bad thing. My daughter grew up, was born 16 years ago, as one of those beautiful traumas, it's enlightenment poor. When I saw her coming, it's like, oh my God, it's a kind of an awakening moment, but it's also again something that creates some imprint in myself. You see, so to get the benefits of these memories, or to get rid of the benefits, meditation or pranayama especially are very useful. You see, so how I couldn't separate the practice of yoga, but the 5 koshas gave me a lot quite better understanding of who experiences what, because honestly I couldn't find the 10 bodies in a more coherent way, more organized way. I was getting confused, and I was confusing many people. I was getting some people tasks that my students didn't find it, and they found themselves again kind of frustrated, creating frustration instead of joy through our yoga classes. You see, so you go for Kriya, for the radiant body, self-blessings, right? You're a blessed soul anyway, so we are blessed already. So if we concentrate into that, and some of your students cannot reach the state of, as you said, Dennis, some days I couldn't experience, some days, yes, I experienced that. But some students of us, that doesn't find it, and you feel really depressed if you tell your student, Kriya for your self-radiance, and you don't feel radiant, you feel only pain here, and you feel that you are really stressed and shit, and it's 31 minutes meditation, you see? So instead of creating anything, and on top, honestly guys, we should stop saying this, and on top we tell the student like, go through your ego, this is your ego, this is your this, and this is your that, you're feeling double guilt, you're guilty twice. Once, because I can't hold it anymore, I'm a bad yogi, and second is my ego. So my ego is and I am very small and very tiny, and so on and so on. So the experience is not a nice, and we tell someone to go through something in order to find something. What if you say that everything is already there, and it's just getting the layers off? You see, so the perspective is quite different. So open kosha by kosha, one by one. Synth R5, take your time, experience your physical body with all the joy and so on. It's nothing blissful in here, but it's also nothing not blissful in here. It's just experience, and so on and so on. It gives a better approach than giving effort to conquer something, conquer, and so all those words are not necessary anymore. And especially we are in 2021. This is a quite very different generation. We can't work for the same things before. So if a guru come in these days with the teachings and practices like Yogi Bhajan 68, where well-being and being young and being healthy and so many kriyas for having a nice face, it's kind of superficial. But if you come to these days and you offer some environmental changes, You come and offer a reduction of the pollution of the world, quality and equanimity in the poverty and richness of this world. Probably you're gonna get some students, but still in 20 years it's gonna pass by. You see, so it is generational thing. So therefore, I can accuse, but I cannot deal with. I cannot align with those type of teachings. It's better to stay very neutral and very reasonable and sober in the practice.
Yeah, and for me, this is really great to practice this way, and I feel the resonance with this attitude to practice. And what do you use to practice with these 40 days or 90 days, thousands? Because some people said that you need to do only this kind of experience, and I had this kind of experience, and sometimes it's really beneficial, but some practices it's need to be done only one time, and this is the privilege of Kundalini Yoga, that there is a vast of practices, but sometimes people really want this new experience. So what is your opinion about these new practices for one time Kriya meditation and practices for some period? How it works for you and for your students?
Yeah. Again, you have a fantastic question, Dennis. Again, remitting and going back to the experiencer and the experience, it is more sober, more wise, in my opinion, to have the experience complete in once. And only if you have really the call to continue practicing this, practice more. Because the 40, 90, 120 and 1,000 days and so on, I have done many of them, and it needed to be part of my teacher training too, and all the diets and so on. And I have to say one thing, and many times my body got benefits, but my mind was absolutely exhausted. Waking up at 1 in the morning to read 1 hour a book which is not my book. Sri Guru Granth Sahib is my sacred book. It stays in the highest place of my house, right there. I have it there. But I don't feel this call, right? But I was getting absolutely exhausted. I was not getting any benefits for the society. You understand? So we do not practice only yoga for us. It's a very egocentric place of practicing yoga. And if we see those practices of 40, 50, 90 days and so on, mainly most of them are ego-centrated. Okay, let's forget the word ego as the ego in the spiritual world, but in a very more psychological way, very more sober, scientific way, as this personality, psychological personality that is created by my name, my background, my nationalities, and so on and so on. So this Oscar has a name, which is not that, it's Oscar Carrillo, given by my family. I am come from Colombia, from this to, and so on. All these backgrounds in me, they demand and they created this personality. I know that I am not this person. I know I am present, but I am this person which interact with all of you. You understand? And this personality, has some values and some things that needs to be reset and review and so and all that. Sometimes the yoga kriyas in one time gives you this review and gives you the insight of, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to be upset for everything anymore and so on. And in one moment you need it and you let it go. And sometimes you reach it with more practices. But the 40, 90 and some other days, which although they have a very spiritual meaning behind and so on, but many of the times they reinforce the personality because there's a person who is having benefits. You understand me? So myself, let's say, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you guys, I was having a trouble with my yoga classes. I wasn't getting enough people, and I was independent, and I wanted to pay my life. Paying the life in Africa is very expensive if you being in Uganda. So I began practicing Subak Kriya. So this hard Kriya many times, nothing happened, man. Nothing happened. I was getting shoulder pain. I was 90 days doing the Kriya and nothing. And some people told me, yeah, it's your ego and so, and this and that is not. It's just the localization in this time of your life that doesn't allow you. I didn't see that I was absolute wealthy. I had a fantastic daughter, a fantastic wife, a beautiful country to be in the middle of Africa, having the wonderful experience. I was definitely more rich than I thought. I had a different approach, actually. I didn't need it, actually. You see? So what we are doing is we're feeding our personalities, egos, psychological personalities in order to fulfill something, practicing these type of things. So if the idea is to break habits and so on, yeah, practicing 40 days is a fantastic idea, because break habits needs some time and needs repetition. But if you could say that the sadhana could be 40 days avoiding to say the word no, also avoiding to say the word yes, because you used to be a pleasing person and say yes to everyone, or you say always no because you are not a pleasing person. That could be a 40 days practice, you see, and not necessarily needs to be with something like that, you see. So to break habits, we need time, and this is more a psychological perspective, and this is created by Carl Jung, behavioral therapy, and so on. This is, yeah, it's an approach of yoga of some Western practices already. In the psychology, this is well used in the behavioral therapy to change habits as very healthy and so on. So I have practiced myself 40, 90, and 120 days. Didn't do 1,000 days. And so many times I had nice benefits, but sometimes not. But one thing that I found 10, 12, 15 years ago, and now through those processes, I never change. You see, my Ananda, I am Ananda anyways, you see, so nothing is being improved thanks to 120 days meditation. It calmed me down. It was very nice to sit in there. Yeah, I felt super good, but I prefer to have an honest one experience that stays with me for long and I can remit to it. A beautiful yoga, it's not yoga, Advaita, Vedanta, enlightened sage called Punjaji, Sri Punjaji, is passed away. He said in a fantastic, beautiful book, it's written in one of these satsangs he gave, that they asked him, what about sadhana? Also, please, let's also be clear. Sadhana, that Kundalini Yoga, as taught by Yogi Vaina's approach, is called Aquarian sadhana. And sadhana is a very old term that many spiritual practices use, and it's not exclusive for the guys in white and turbans. It's for anyone. Sadhana is the spiritual self-discipline and practice. And he says, sadhana, which is prescribed sadhana, it is the same as ibuprofen or aspirin. You're taking a pill in order to get rid of something, and that's all. If sadhana is prescribed like that, it's just like taking medicine. It's nothing like that. He said, why don't you keep your mind in your heart? That should be your sadhana daily. Every free moment when you are not busy, because we need to be busy. I need to have my mind when I'm teaching yoga. I'm not thinking in mind, nothing. I'm thinking in the Kriya, in you guys, and I'm teaching. This is my busy moment. Finish my yoga class, prepare my breakfast. I'm busy. But then I have my rest moment when I no need to be busy in my mind. It's the moment to bring my mind to my heart. That should be sadhana. And that doesn't need to be 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, or any time in the morning. It needs to be 24/7 next to us. Sadhana. You see? So the spiritual recognition that I am beyond this person. Something like that. And that could be. So we could wake up early, do yoga, but if it's prescribed, is reinforcing the pain. So ibuprofen just take the pain, just numb the brain and doesn't let the brain experience the pain, but the hurt is still there, you see?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think this is a great moment to finish, and I really appreciate this time with you. It's really great insights for me also, and great resonance with your understanding of the practice and the life. I'm really glad that we meet together in this life, and hope we will have some more great experiences, and just let me know a few sentences about the practices, what you plan to do for our audience, just to give the idea of the classes, what you want to offer.
Absolutely, Dennis. I'm very, very happy that I can share that. So if we will be doing, I believe we have for May around 5 or 4 sessions, more or less, right? So I'm gonna try to cover in this 1 month classes, being 5 or 4 sessions. This perspective. So we're gonna be practicing yoga Kundalini using Bandha Pranayama Mudra asanas, the same as you have been practicing. You have practiced with me before, in order to have the experience of all those koshas very fine. You see, so if we use the body, let's use it properly. You know, let's feel this body alive, vibrating of this full of ana, so food, the nurturing of the Mother Earth. So we can really experience the planet in us, let's say. But don't forgetting that I am the experiencer, and the experience it passes away also. No? It's impermanent. So how can we stay neutral, permanent, being the witness of the yoga we do? It's very much, it seems really complex, but the idea is the opposite, to go back to very simple, simplicity. The practice of, if I stay as presence, why is so simple? Because if I have more decoration in me, I'm heavy, right? I have more malas, I have more. If I get rid of all this, I'm gonna be lighter. So my proposal is, let's practice lightness, right? So we leave behind the things that are getting us heavy on the floor. And it's springtime. It's a very good time to let this blossom. So we practice something to let on the side the heaviness that represents being a person, and more transcend this recognition to a present state. Don't forget, please, that nothing of this is going to change the essence of you, what you are. But what it's doing is resetting your understanding of what you are. You see? So the understanding. So resetting the mana maya kosha, the mind. We're going to be resetting that. We're going to be getting some strength of our physical body, anamaya kosha. We're going to have experiences of bliss. Maybe just be sitting is blissful moment. So we're going to have anandamaya. And we're going to reset also our old beliefs from a very different perspectives. I like to give very short talks, 10 minutes introduction before the class, and then we're going to have 75 minutes yoga, pure yoga, so pure practice of yoga, right? So 10 minutes just to get the introduction. Each class is going to be kind of close to one of the koshas, but all of them is situated in one thing. Remember, the psychological person is being created than what is behind, which is permanent. So let's stay as presence and transcend person. That is the idea with that. But we do yoga, and we go as always, very simple. This morning, just to finish, Dennis, this morning in my yoga class, because I saw some description of in my webpage, and I know some of my colleagues, yoga teachers, Kundalini Yoga, Kundalini Research Institute, they try to poke, probably, no? Telling me like, what do you mean about multidimensional yoga? Doesn't exist. Yogi Vaya never spoke about multidimensional. Of course, listen, that's my proposal. There's different dimensions. We have the dimension of the physicality. We have the dimension of the mind, the dimension of the prana, the dimension of blissfulness, and so on. Is you pick which one you like to use. Because I like to practice my physical body. I don't like this esoteric thing. Go ahead. You don't need it. Or I love the esoteric part because I love the planets, and go ahead. It's also real. Use the chakra system when you see that. You could be sitting here and I could explain you in a physical way. Knees close to the chair, this and that. your spine straight, open your chest, and so on. This is a muscular place. But you could also be in like the chakras, or you could be also feeling the prana going up and down. You see, the multi-dimension is your decision in which dimension you would like to work, or in all of them. You see? So that is a multi-dimensional perspective of the practice of yoga. That is the offer we're going to be doing through kriyas and pranayamas, asana, bandhas, and so on. I think this way.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I will close this recording. Thank you everybody who will watch this video and we will make the text of it. Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you, thanks for the invitation. I'm looking forward already for the next